My spouse leads a prestigious department. You barely have a middle school education, therefore you're nothing like him. Lily, a classmate and friend from my childhood, teased me with a sly smile. Then I guess he's fired. The things I had just uttered had even shocked my old classmates. My name is Mason. This year, I turned 30. I've been wed to Sarah for the past 3 years. Sarah is soft and compassionate, and we enjoy a great marriage and a calm home life together. I once came into a beautiful envelope when I was at home checking the mail. I recognized the sender as Lily, a friend from middle school who I hadn't spoken to in over a decade. An invitation to our middle school reunion was inside in the envelope. Why now, after all this time? I was perplexed, but I also decided to go since I wanted to see everyone again. The reunion day finally arrived. After Sarah assisted me in choosing a suit, I went to the location. It was a standing buffet-style party, and people were mixing freely when I got there. I was enjoying the food and greeting a few folks when Lily, the reunion's organizer, came over to me. She scornfully said, "Oh, look at this dull group," with obvious mockery. Just a bunch of poor people. In class, I was never the kind to stick out. Mason, a long time has passed. Lily addressed me in a sarcastic and contemptuous manner. I was concerned, wondering what you were doing and where you were. Lily said, "We used to live close by and be buddies in our early years. I'm getting married soon, so I gathered everyone here today to share the news." "Well, congrats," I replied. "My spouse leads a prestigious department. You barely have a middle school education, therefore you're nothing like him." Lily scoffed once more. Her remarks were astounding, yet I genuinely applauded her without wanting to start a commotion. Those in our immediate vicinity also congratulated us. Satisfied, Lily carried on speaking. "I sincerely hope that everyone will be there for my wedding. There will be a lot of visitors on my husband's side because he is expected to take over his family's business following the wedding. I want all of my middle school classmates to come as his guests because of this." As she talked, she distributed wedding invites. Despite everyone's clear desire for her to flaunt herself, nobody spoke up or accepted the invites. Lily purposefully underlined the word childhood friends, saying, "You're coming. Of course, after all, we were." My mother and Lily's mother were reportedly close friends in school. But when I was in the 3rd grade, my mother passed away, and my father, who made machine parts in a factory, raised me. At that point, everything altered. My life altered drastically after my mother passed away, and my father attempted to use drink and gambling to hide his loneliness. We had no choice but to sell our home and relocate into a dilapidated flat. I had to settle with hand-me-downs from relatives because I couldn't afford a new uniform, even when I started middle school. There was not a single school function that my father went to, such as graduation ceremonies or open houses. My students began insulting me harshly and calling me dirty and impoverished as a result. When Lily realized this, she started to turn away from me, and by middle school, she was spearheading my bullying. When I gently broached the subject of high school with my dad during our 3rd year of middle school, he became enraged. "What topic are you discussing? I will never send you to high school." I was shocked and couldn't think of anything to say. I made a valiant effort to persuade my father that I wanted to finish my education, but he adamantly refused to listen. The fact that I will start working immediately after middle school was soon brought up in class. Lily, the life of the party in our class, was one of the people making fun of me. "After middle school, you're going to work. What? Well, I suppose you can't afford high school if you just have one parent. How sorry for one so impoverished as you." The other students laughed when Lily said this. I was so desperate to get my circumstances changed. I sneaked out of my house that day of my middle school graduation and boarded the train into the city by myself. I was terrified and anxious since I had no one to turn to. I've seldom ever gone back to my hometown or even my house since that day. I maintained occasional contact with a small group of close pals, but that was all. I later looked for a job in the city, but very few places would hire someone with only a middle school diploma. The cleaning company where I work now was the only job I could locate. I've always been a little bit of a neat freak, so this job seemed like a good fit. I put in a lot of work, and a few years later, at the age of 22, I ran into Sarah at work. Her lovely smile and her courteous demeanor toward everyone drew me in. Then she asked me out to supper, which astonished me. We kept dating and eventually tied the knot. I called my father as soon as I made the decision to marry Sarah, because I felt that I should at least let him know. However, he sounded completely indifferent. "Whoa, you're getting married to someone? She must be somewhat eccentric." "Dad, that's not a very nice thing to say." "Well, as long as you don't involve me, do whatever you want." I was pretty sad since I had secretly hoped he might be slightly pleased that his only son was getting married. However, Sarah reassured me softly. "I'm now your family, Mason. Let's concentrate on enhancing our enjoyment together going forward." I recall giving her a hug and crying a little when she said something that really affected me. Ever since, I've made an effort to put my family and peers behind me and concentrate on the life I've created. However, upon unexpectedly receiving an invitation to Lily's wedding, I made the decision to discuss it with Sarah upon returning home. Perhaps this is their attempt at making amends with you, Mason. Perhaps they've matured and are reconsidering. I said, "You think so?" Sarah said, "I think you should go. Of course, I'll be there with you." "Okay, I'll be there then. Regards, Sarah." I replied back the invitation with the notation attending the next day. I put on my suit the day of Lily's wedding, 3 months later. Sarah had her hair done in a lovely manner and had been dressed in a dress since the morning. I couldn't help but find her captivating. We went to the location together. One of the biggest and most well-known locations in the neighborhood served as the wedding site. Well, considering she's marrying the president of Harris Industries, it's no surprise the wedding is this grand. Sarah answered, "Yeah, I bet there are over 300 guests here." As we waited for the bride and groom to arrive inside the chapel, we engaged in conversation. Lily appeared very joyful as she strolled down the aisle alongside her father. Her father's expression was equally proud. I applauded like everyone else, but I was also a little jealous and nervous when I watched this moment. Seeing how I felt about my father's absence from my wedding, Sarah had thoughtfully proposed that we hold a short ceremony with just the two of us. We went to the friends' table, where my former classmates were sitting, after entering the reception hall. Sarah seemed to pique everyone's interest, and some even inquired about her educational background. Sarah, who found the scenario amusing, simply laughed it off. We looked at each other, and I sat down. After that, the reception started. Lily, who was wearing a traditional attire at the time, grinned radiantly. Eric the groom looked like a crisp, contemporary CEO standing next to her. The pair was praised by all, who were happy for their union. Many of the attendees appeared to be Harrison Industries executives and staff members who had come to celebrate the couple's fresh start. Given that Harrison Industries is a mid-sized machine design company, the lavish nature of its president's wedding was not unexpected. Halfway through the reception, the bride and groom left for a quick change of clothes. I took this as an opportunity to get up, tell Sarah I was going to the bathroom, and walk outdoors. I was surprised to see Lily and Eric, who had just left. They were snapping pictures to remember. I never would have imagined running into them after they left. A little taken aback, I made sure to extend my sincere congrats right away. "I appreciate you having me here today, Lily. Many congratulations on your union." Lily spoke in a tone that belied her seriousness, and her expression soured. "Oh, you showed up at all? Have you been able to put together a suitable gift? At least it appears that you are dressed nicely in a suit. Is this man one of your peers?" Eric stood next to Lily and gave me a perfunctory, in-depth look. "He is, indeed," Lily remarked. "He insisted on coming even though I really didn't want to invite him because I was embarrassed." "Sorry? Why not?" Eric looked to Lily and inquired. "I never made a point of going. All of my classmates present today, I'm sure, felt exactly the same way. Lily was the one who persuaded us to come." Though I wanted to say what was on my mind to ruin their special day, I refrained. But Lily and Eric never stopped making fun of me with no consideration for how I felt. As Lily said, "Because he's only got a middle school education," she gestured to me. Eric said, "Whew," in a playful tone. When he looked at me, there was obvious disdain in his eyes. However, he's wed. In any case, what does your wife do? Asking Lily. I therefore gave a truthful response. She is employed as a cleaner. We work for the same company together. Lily and Eric exchanged a look at this, then their faces turned into twisted sneers. Well, that's a nasty, dirty job. For someone like you who only completed middle school, it's ideal. However, I wouldn't be able to admit it if I worked for a cleaning firm. Yes, I can't even begin to imagine that as a CEO. As low as it gets is that. I snapped, "Hey, don't talk like that." However, Lily dismissive waved her hand as though brushing off a nitpicky. Please just head home. It is awkward for you to be here. Poverty may spread among people. What was the point of both of you coming? Also deserving of humiliation is your spouse. How could she not feel self-conscious about walking next to someone like you? After saying that, Lily and Eric turned away from me. I trembled with wrath, clenching my hands. I came here hoping to really congratulate them despite everything that had happened to me in middle school. And this is how I'm treated. They not only made fun of Sarah and our work, but they also insulted me. This was not excused. A soft hand landed on my shoulder as I stood motionless in the wedding venue's entryway. Sarah, I heard everything. Mason, I have an idea though, Sarah replied, smiling calmly, but with a distinct hint of rage in her voice. Then Sarah and I went back to the reception hall. After changing into new clothes, Lily and Eric left the room for a time. But their faces twisted in disgust as they realized I was still there. I tried not to let it disturb me and did my best not to glance at Lily. A presenter took up the microphone and started pacing the room as the event was about to end. It seems that the MC was asking people to congratulate the pair as she went around the room. Harrison Industries staff members complimented Eric, and a woman who appeared to be one of Lily's acquaintances started crying and stated, "I hope you have the happiest possible life." This produced a sentimental and cozy mood. After a while, the host moved to the table where Lily's classmates from middle school were seated. The bride's middle school classmates are pictured here. We would be delighted to hear your congratulations, Lily. I was given the microphone after saying that. I looked at Lily, who had a look on her face that stated, quite clearly, "Don't you dare say anything unnecessary." Instinctively, I turned to face Sarah, who nodded silently to me. I returned the nod and started talking. I attend the same university as the bride. I only want to make one statement. All contracts between Eric's company, Harrison Industries, and my company, Anderson Cleaning Services, will be terminated going forward. Suddenly, the room was silent. Grinning, I returned the microphone to the presenter. Well, just what does that mean exactly? The host stumbled and began to perspire. From the head table, Lily spoke up out of the blue. To everyone, I apologize. This individual is prone to lying and has unstable emotions. It's really awkward. Here he is, talking like a silly little janitor. Eric jumped right in. That's accurate. These kinds of people have no place here. Remove them from this place. The workers started coming up to Sarah and myself, who were still sitting there looking composed. The atmosphere in the room became strained. However, a voice suddenly boomed. Wait, Sarah, are you the executive officer and president of Anderson Cleaning Services? Eric's father, wearing an elegant tailcoat, was the one whose voice was filled with horror. As part of their marriage agreement, Eric had lately taken over Harrison Industries from this man. Yes, this is my wife, Sarah, the executive officer of Anderson Cleaning Services, and I am the president of the company. As the bride's classmates from middle school, we were invited today. The visitors on Eric's side of the room started whispering to each other as I was speaking. The bride and groom had earlier ordered us to leave, claiming that our labor was filthy and humiliating and that poverty was contagious. Sarah gently remarked, Please forgive us for staying despite their request." With a pale face, Eric's father started yelling at the head table. "Eric, please apologize to these folks right away." However, Eric and Lily answered with a half smile, Dad, what are you talking about? Why should we offer an apology to individuals such as them? Who the heck are these people, exactly?" Eric's father yelled again, his voice wavering. "Eric, do you not know who Anderson Cleaning Services is?" "What?" "Anderson Cleaning Services," Eric whispered. His face paled more and more as the reality set in. "You mean our main client? Wait." Eric's statements caused Lily to gasp in disbelief. "That's accurate. We recently hired your organization to create cleaning equipment for our company," Sarah muttered. "We recently placed a second order for the creation of a new vacuum model as well." Sarah is really the daughter of the people who own Anderson Cleaning Services, which I joined after relocating to the city. Sarah's parents actually owned and operated the company I started when I moved to the city. These days, the company not only offers cleaning services, but it also creates its own brand of cleaning supplies and just joined the online marketplace. It is therefore one of the few cleaning companies that has expanded to become a $100 million company, employing almost 6,500 people at its headquarters alone. I started from the bottom and worked my way up, helping to create popular cleaning products that led to my promotion to head of product planning at the headquarters. I met Sarah there, and we finally tied the knot. Even though Sarah and her family were aware of my limited education, they extended a warm welcome to me. My desire to return the favor made me throw myself into my task. I was supposed to succeed Sarah's father as business president when he retired last year. Do you have any idea how much money we would lose if we lost our contract with Anderson Cleaning Services? Eric's father screamed at his kid, who was shaking uncontrollably, his face now a beet red. Something similar to this. I was ignorant of this. That's because, after taking over the business, you didn't treat your responsibilities with respect. You've even forgotten a significant client's face. I never should have given you control of the company. Taking Eric by the collar, Eric's father stormed up to the head table and dragged him over to where we were. Then he pulled Eric down hard, forcing him to bow. "Please accept my apology. I implore you to pardon me." Eric's father bowed next to his son and said, "We cannot afford to lose such a critical project that our company's future depends on." "I apologize sincerely. Please pardon me." Eric bowed too and started to perspire heavily, dropping droplets of sweat to the ground. Sarah turned to face me as I watched this scene. "Mason, what are your plans for that? He's been let go. Clearly, he is unfit to serve as president." My former classmates gasped when I said this because they had no idea how much power I actually held. In a panic, Eric's father interrupted. "Naturally, I made a mistake by entrusting him with the business. I'm not going to forgive him. I made a mistake by ordering fresh merchandise as a wedding present." The visitors of Harrison Industries let forth cries of shock. I even witnessed Ryan, the sales director, pass out in a panic attack. I made the decision to place a sizable order with Harrison Industries for new items after learning at the reunion that Lily was getting married to the president of the company. I really thought Lily wanted to make up with me, so I accepted her invitation to the wedding, but she completely betrayed my expectations. Lily, who had been observing the scene with a puzzled expression, became enraged and yelled at me. "Why do you think you were speaking in such a manner? Whichever position you hold, vice president or president." "Lily has to worry more about herself," I shot back, giving her a scowl. "Harrison Industries will incur huge losses if we close our doors. You might not be able to live the opulent life you were boasting about as a wife staying at home." Lily's face became white as she at last comprehended how serious things were. "Mason, let's go." I wrapped my arm around Sarah's shoulder and left the room, with Sarah, Eric, and his father still wrestling on the floor, and Lily standing motionless, her face pale. We did, in fact, end our contracts with Harrison Industries after that. As a result, the business sustained significant financial losses, and Eric lost his presidency in order to accept accountability. Eric lost everything, including his wealth and reputation, after his father disowned him. After their disagreements became regular, it appears that Eric and Lily decided to get a divorce because they had nothing left to cling on to. After her family abandoned her and she had no one else to turn to, Lily is said to be living alone and working in the nightlife business. We have carried on living in harmony. We recently became parents to a gorgeous baby boy. Since then, Sarah and her family have been smitten with him. They are ecstatic. "I'm so happy that I met you, Sarah," I said. "I used to feel like I had given up on life. I sincerely appreciate my younger self for acting on that day when I boarded the train, urgently looking for somewhere to belong, despite my fear. In the near future, if it's all right with you, I'd like you to visit my father's cemetery as well as my mother's." Sarah nodded and gave me a nice grin when I stated this quietly. Of course. I'm going to start cherishing every day and defend my family and the business we've created together.